Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Sports Zone.
In the immortal words of Yogi Berra, it's deja vu all over again. We join you once again from Turner Field in Atlanta as the night portion of our day-night double dip with the Mets continues tonight on Fox Sports South. Hi again, friends. Joe Simpson, Tom Glavine, Chip Carey with you. Game one went the Mets' way, and boy, was Matt Harvey impressive. 13 strikeouts over 7+ innings. And speaking of deja vu, Joe, we might see the same kind of stuff from a young man making his big league debut for New York in Game 2.
Everybody's been raving about Zach Wheeler, and he comes home to make his Major League debut. Comes home to Georgia, that is. He was a first-round pick by the Giants, traded to the Mets. He was born in Smyrna, lives now in Dallas, Georgia. Went to East Paulding High School, the 6th overall pick you see out in 2009. But one little note, opposing rookies making their debuts as a starter at Turner Field are 0-7. We love all our Georgia boys, but hang with them, 0-8 tonight, I hope.
And a Mississippi State man, Paul Maholm, gets the ball for the Braves. He looks to rebound Tommy after a disappointing outing last time out.
Yeah, coming off a tough start his last time on the road in San Diego. Well, for Paul, hopefully there's no place like home. He's been fantastic here at Turner Field. You see this season at home in 5 starts, 4-1 with a 1.64 ERA. So look for him to go out there tonight, get things back on track, and get the Braves deep into this ball game, give them a chance to win this game.
And thanks to you Braves fans for coming back for Game 2 of the nightcap doubleheader. And speaking of coming back, when we do return, Tom Hart will talk about the Braves' late inning heroics. You never count this club out. 21 comeback wins for the Bravos, and Tom Hart will detail that for you right after this.
nightcap of our doubleheader today, and finishing up 3 in the same day here today as the Braves and Mets meet today. We don't know if rain's going to fall, but there is a steady sunflower seed shower, so we hope to work our way through that. Braves hope to not have to come back today, but if they need to, they've proven that they can. They're one of the best comeback teams in all of baseball, and they nearly did it against Mets ace Matt Harvey in game number 1. They chased him with a walk and a couple of clean singles. Braves would send 9 men to the plate in the 8th inning, work through the Mets bullpen, but come up just a little bit short in game 1 of our doubleheader today. So what can we expect from the Braves if they do fall behind? Take a look at our Ram Truck Power stats. The Braves are great late from the 7th inning on. 2nd in the National League in run differential, 1st in home runs, 1st in home run differential at plus 18. And the Braves have 7 wins when trailing after the 6th inning. And don't forget, when you get into a situation like that, you also have one of the best closers in the game, Craig Kimbrell, to shut him down in the 9th. Hopefully we get a chance to see that. Braves hope a comeback's not necessary. Some early runs would be fantastic for Paul Maholm, but to look for that and more. It's the nightcap and the 3rd final today. Coming up next from a Turner Field covered in sunflower seeds.
By Delta Airlines and by Ford. Ready for game 2. Save some of that fight for the Mets, Chris. Atlanta tries to even up this doubleheader tonight after dropping a 4-3 decision in game 1. Here's the Mets starting 9 presented by Terry Collins and Toyota. Cowgill leads off again. Danny Murphy's at second. David Wright third. Marlon Byrd's in right field. Josh Satin. Kind of like that name. He's the first baseman with Anthony Recker behind the plate. Lagares, Quintanilla, and Zach Wheeler round out the starting 9.
They'll be facing left-hander Paul Maholm. 7-5 on the year with a 3.65 ERA. We showed you his good numbers at home. Pretty good numbers against the Mets, too, in his career. 12 starts, 6-3 with a 3.5 ERA. So hopefully the winning ways will continue here.
And his Ford keys to pitching success tonight. Curveball command has been an issue at times where a couple of hangers have been hit out of the ballpark. He'd like to get that under control. And MWB, that would be the 3, 4, 5 hitters for them. That would be Murphy, Wright, and Byrd present the biggest obstacle for him tonight, with a bunch of other averages that are less than impressive for the New York Mets. But if he can control those 3 guys, he should have a good night.
So Cowgill's ready to go, and so is Paul Mahalam.
And you get your wish, Chip. Thanks to a doubleheader, you get more Cowgill.
One game, frankly, was enough. Outside to Cowgill, 1 ball, no strikes. So far, knock on wood, weather perfect. And a shot past first, and Freddie Freeman couldn't get it. Cowgill with a leadoff single. 74 degrees, the official game time temperature for game 2.
It's gotten hotter.
And there's a chance of rain. We've got another band of showers just north of town. So hopefully, knock on wood again, that'll stay away.
That also means there's a chance that it won't rain.
Right. David, what's the chance of it not raining? He says 40% chance that it won't rain. Swing and a miss by Danny Murphy. He's 2 for 8 so far in the series. A couple of hits in game 1 today. No balls, 2 strikes. Joe, you've said it a bunch of times with regards to Paul Mahalam. You know pretty fast whether he's got his A stuff or not.
And that's because of his command. If he's up in the zone, then it's probably not going to be a very good night for him because his release point's off a little bit. But if he's down, even if he's missing down, that's okay. Already have seen a ground ball that happened to be through the hole.
Paul has excelled this year is getting out left-handed hitters. They have just 14 hits against him all season long. That's a 169 average. And a tough one here in Murphy.
We've said this about some Atlanta Braves players that have come and gone about them being professional hitters. This guy, to me, is a professional hitter. Always gives you a really good at bat, lefty, righty, doesn't matter to him. All fields, and always hits for a high average.
He's not giving any away when he gets in there. Score, weather, you name it, none of it influences. He's going to battle.
And he just struck out Murphy. So 1 on, 1 out.
Yeah, it was good pitch there. Just a
good curve.
Tough pitch for lefty on lefty for that hitter to stay in there and not give up on it.
David Wright's 1 for 8 in the series. 9 homers, 36 knocked in. As good as David has been at the plate, looked awfully uncomfortable defensively, didn't he, in game 1?
Sure misplayed some balls hit to him, I thought, backing up on everything.
Wright still trying to catch Pablo Sandoval for the All-Star voting lead among National League third basemen. And he bounces 1 to third. 2 long throws. But Wright is doubled up. Wright hit to a double play in game 1. He ends the first with a twin killing. And Andrelton Simmons leads off Atlanta's first inning as Zach Wheeler debuts in the bigs next. Wheeler completes his warm-up tosses in the big leagues for the first time. Here's the Toyota starting lineup for the Braves. Your A lineup, as you'd expect, in the nightcap of the double dip. Paul Mahalam pitches and bats ninth, and what an unforgettable thrill for an Atlanta kid debuting against the Atlanta Braves today.
Yeah, the young right-hander making his major league debut here tonight. You see his numbers in AAA Las Vegas: 13 starts, 4-2 with a 3.9. Pretty good walk to strikeout ratio, 73 strikeouts, 68 innings pitched, and yeah, exciting time not only to make your debut but make it in your hometown against your hometown team.
Andrelton Simmons, the first big league hitter. Missed outside with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
His 4 keys to success tonight: his fastball command. Sometimes he can get a little wild high with his good heater and some good company. I'll describe that in a second. He was named the Gatorade Georgia High School Player of the Year in 2008-09. Some former recipients of that award: Buster Posey, Dexter Fowler, Jeff Francoeur, and Adam Wainwright. That's good company.
Yeah.
2 balls, no strikes. And there's his first big league strike. Well, fellas, it's time for us 3 up here to feel old. Wheeler, born May 30th, 1990. He's the first player born in the decade of the 90s to play for the Mets.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll make you feel old.
His last start for Vegas came against Tacoma. He went 5 2/3 innings, only gave up 1 hit, and that was a homer, a solo homer. Walked 2, struck out 7, but went on to lose the game. Got no run support, and that 1 run beat him.
And Simmons walks on 5 pitches. Good start for the Braves in the opening inning. And that'll bring up Jason Hayward. Here's how the Mets defense lines up behind Zach tonight. Cowgill, Lagares, and Bird left to right in the outfield. Josh Satin is at first base. David Wright at third, and Anthony Recker is the catcher. Fastball command.
Not there yet. This is so odd. I mean, because like I said, we love our Georgia guys. It's typical for these Georgia natives to be pitching for the Braves, not somebody else.
Well, there was a chance that this kid could have fallen to the Braves position, but he was taken 1 spot ahead of the Braves slot, correct?
That's correct. Giants got him right before Atlanta was going to take him. And a little encouragement from the veteran third baseman.
Two balls, no strikes. And that one found the mark. Mentioned in game 1 that Wheeler is the 6th pick overall. Was taken just ahead of Mike Minor, was taken ahead of Tyler Skaggs, and was taken ahead of Shelby Miller, who's a Rookie of the Year candidate for the Cardinals. But those weren't the only 3 names that were in that 2009 draft, where Strasburg went 1, Ackley went 2 to Seattle, but look who lasted all the way to the 25th pick.
Interesting. Be interesting to know what the scout's opinion was of Mike Trout to drop that low, or if he had told everybody he was going to go to college and the Angels somehow changed his mind.
And pitch inside. Ricker came out of the box ready to throw, but didn't unleash. And Simmons steals second base, and the count full to Hayward.
4th stolen base for Andrelton.
Stolen base number 4.
base stealers are now, or I should say, Wrecker's only 1 for 7 against base stealers.
Fly foul out of play. I mentioned in game 1-2 with Alex Wood the difficulty he might have in seeing the signs with no lights shining in from the outfield. Look at what Wrecker has done to try to help his rookie pitcher. Fluorescent orange fingernail polish. And a fastball gets Hayward. First strikeout. And first major league out. And his friends from East Paulding are enjoying this first inning, as are his parents.
Has he thrown anything but a fastball so far?
Not that I can remember.
Again, going 97, 98. Why not?
Now Danny Murphy in for a chat with his pitcher. It's got to be tough on the infield defenders, too. They don't know what this kid's stuff is like, do they?
Well, they saw him in spring training. Probably played behind him some in Port St. Lucie. That would be their only experience with him. There's a breaking ball. .6'4", 185. Got a nice live arm action.
Broken bat. David Wright handles and throws out Upton. 2 outs. Let's check in for the first time tonight with Tom Harden.
All right, thanks, Chip. You know, your first major league strikeout produces quite a memento. Wouldn't you want to put that on the shelf and save that one for years and years to come? Well, Wheeler was thinking that, threw it into the dugout. Valdespin found it. Look at that. He threw it into the seats. No, he didn't. He deked everybody, just like somebody in the Wrigley Field bleachers. He came over there prepared with a fake baseball and kept it the whole time.
He's a cut up, isn't he? Valdespin.
Freddie Freeman with a runner at second, 2 outs. Here's where Freeman has excelled for the Braves this year. One of the best wrist hitters in the game.
Tom, remember Charlie Lebrandt's 1,000th strikeout in Philadelphia?
I do, yes. He forgot to call timeout when he threw the ball in the dugout.
Yeah.
Oh,
With a runner on base.
no.
Yeah.
Two balls, no strikes. How'd that go over in the dugout, Tom?
I think everybody just laughed. I mean, you know, veteran guy, well-liked guy. It was just, you know, there's nothing you could do but laugh.
See if Freddie has a green light here. 3 balls, no strikes. Nowhere close. Couple of walks in the opening inning. And Wrecker out to settle down Wheeler. Here's B.J. Upton.
His fastball command, especially up in the zone, is, I think, already recognizable, because while Harvey made it look kind of simple in the first game, how easy the ball came out of his hand and kept the ball down, this guy seems to be really trying. He's got his adrenaline flowing, of course, so he's trying to overthrow a little bit. The ball's really flying up high.
Yeah, the Braves are smart. They're making him home strikes, and so far Zach hasn't done it.
That's the thing as a pitcher too. You want to try and really kind of lock into is that effort, because he is amped up. Sure, he's feeling like he's missing out of the zone because he's trying to throw too hard. So then he's trying to throttle it down a little bit and take a little bit off and hit his spots. And so you got that constant back and forth of your effort level. So that's where it's big. If you can just get through that first inning and settle yourself down a little bit, and then hope you can find some rhythm and some consistency in your effort and getting the strikes on a little bit more.
And Warthen with a quick visit. Now Wheeler back to the slab, behind in the count, 1 ball, no strikes.
That was probably the 10th time today he's been told, just go out and do what you've been doing all year.
That missed low and outside, 2 balls, no strikes. I can't remember who told Wheeler, but someone said when you make your first couple of pitches, don't look up. Don't notice there's a second or third deck at Turner Field. Joe Mencius tells me it was Steve Klein, who was one of his pitching coaches in the minor leagues. It's got to be awfully hard to do and not take in the enormity of what you're trying to accomplish and what you already have accomplished.
Very hard to do.
Yeah, I would say look up, take it all in.
Yeah, deserve it. You earned it.
And yeah, see what it's like to be in this kind of setting and venue, and then use it to your advantage. Be proud of the fact that you're here.
Two balls and a strike for BJ. And a high hopper to David Wright, and he'll take it to the bag and make the unassisted put out. First big league inning for Zach Wheeler. No score.
Connect 76884 for a chance to win round trip airfare for 2 anywhere Delta flies in the continental U.S., plus hotel accommodations and $250 spending cash. We'll announce the winner on Delta Day this Thursday, day after tomorrow, during our Braves telecast. Message and data rates may apply. Entrants may receive 1 text message confirming entry, and the winner may be contacted by text message. So be heads up and wear your protective equipment.
That's always good advice. And here's Marlon Byrd. No scores. Second inning now. Braves Mets. Mahalam delivers a quick strike. Braves made a nice gesture tonight. They were very concerned about already having to make up one game with the Mets today, so they waited until nearly 11 o'clock to start last night's ball game with New York. As a result, a lot of fans just couldn't stick around to wait to see if the game was going to take place. So the Braves today have announced that if you're a ticket holder for last night's game, they're offering you a chance to enjoy another game at a deeply discounted rate. Bring your ticket from last night to the Turner Field ticket office windows to buy a $5 ticket in the Field View, Terrace View, Outfield, Club Pavilion, or Upper Box sections for one of 18 available second half of the season games. And this offer applies whether or not you even used the ticket last night. So if you stuck it out, you win. If you had to go home, you win. It's a nice gesture. They had 22,000 announced last night.
A lot of hearty souls stuck that one out last night and got to see a heck of an ending.
Freddie Freeman's homer in the ninth won the game as Byrd pops one down the right field line.
I was wondering what that one guy was doing at 1:30 this morning, sweeping up all those wet ticket stubs outside the ballpark.
He's a big Braves fan. Two balls, two strikes. And now a full count for Marlon Byrd. Two more left with the Mets in this series. Then we're off to Milwaukee and Kansas City. And Byrd a rope into left over the glove of Simmons. Second leadoff hit of the game for the Mets.
Paul's got good stuff, but like any pitcher who relies on movement and finesse and location, when he gets into 3-1, 3-2 counts, his edge of getting you to swing at his pitch gets greatly reduced. And he's got to make a better pitch.
Josh Satin is the Mets' first baseman.
Former lounge singer at the Holiday Inn. Don't go changing. His name actually at the lounge was Josh Satin. He shortened it for his baseball career.
Out of Hidden Hills, California, and Cal Berkeley. Last year, Terry Collins thought this kid had a chance someday to be an impact bat. And he's not really a kid anymore. He's 28 years old. He'll be 29 on December 23rd. Lifetime .307 hitter in the minor leagues. Double play ball. Uggla turns that. That is Muhammad at his best, getting the ball on the ground, and when he's right, he gets a lot of double play balls. 2 double dips in as many innings.
Well, he's on a record pace right now. Good changeup, even though it was up a little bit, got him to hit it right at Anderson.
That gets back to your point about the first hitter, the 2-2 count right there. You can't afford to zone up and look for that perfect pitch. You got to protect a little bit, so you don't take as good a swing at that pitch that might be a little bit of a mistake like you do when it's a 3-1 or a 2-0 count.
This is Anthony Recker, the Mets catcher. He's 29 years old, born in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Was originally an Oakland Athletic. Got to the big leagues in Oakland in 2011. Spent part of last season with the Cubs. In fact, Chicago claimed him off waivers in late August. And he played in 9 games in Chicago last year.
Probably should have gone to Georgia Tech, don't you think?
Been a rambling record.
He's wearing the gold tie. That's where that came from. For game 2.
Game 2 humor.
Recker takes a called third strike. Brian McCann leads off the Atlanta second. Still no score. Bottom of the second inning, and that's the kind of news that Ed Mangett and his grounds crew certainly like hearing. They've been awfully busy, have they not, Elizabeth?
That's right, Chip. Thank you very much. Really, the unsung heroes. I asked Ed what the difficulties were about last night and the challenges of a doubleheader, which leads us to our Home Depot tools from the dugout. He said last night the difficulty was there was never really a front, just the pop-ups here and there, that they really couldn't time anything out. That's usually the decision to stop or start a game. He said in terms of today with a doubleheader, the same full shutdown process as after the game. Fix the mound, the bullpens, clean out the dugout. Everything has to be done. It just has to be expedited. And I'll tell you what, I have to admit, I was not here last night, although I was watching, but watching this grounds crew today, they work so hard, they have to be exhausted.
So you got a full night's rest, is that what you're saying, Elizabeth?
No, I stayed up the entire time.
Well, thank you for doing that. Bless your heart.
That's yanked down the right field line by Brian McCann, foul.
But thank you for being here today, Elizabeth, because you are right. These guys, sometimes I wonder how they're even standing up with the time they put in and how hard they work.
Swing and a miss. McCann down on a 96-mile-an-hour heater. Hayward and McCann, two Georgia boys, struck out by Georgia native Zach Wheeler.
We saw a lot of swings under the high fastball of Matt Harvey in the first game.
Fly ball hammered left center field. That one is going to bounce off the fence. Dan Uggla jumped all over the first pitch and has a one-out double.
Fastball down the middle, and he squared that up. 2 hits in game 1 along with a walk. Has his average up over 190 and climbing. Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot for Dan Uggla. Last 19 games against the Metropolitans, 5 homers, 10 RBIs, and a great average.
Let's see if Chris Johnson can bring him home. 17 RBIs for Chris. And he takes a called strike. Johnson couldn't catch up. 97 miles an hour. I'm not really a broadcaster that falls in love with the radar gun, but when you talk about the problems the Mets have had with their pitching staff the last several years, how exciting is it to see 2 young arms pitch on the same day like they have today?
I was just getting ready to say, I mean, 96, 97 has been a pretty routine number here today. Hitters have seen a lot of that.
One ball, no strikes for Mahalam.
This is almost like these 2 guys make you start thinking about those days when in '69 when the Mets were the Miracle Mets. Gary Gentry's, Nolan Ryan's. They had a guy named a little bit later on, Craig Swan, who all through mid to upper 90s. I don't think Matt Lack threw that hard. Sievert certainly threw hard.
But if you're going to follow the blueprint of the Braves, you start with your pitching. And if Harvey is for real, and one would think probably is, if this kid can develop like Harvey did, we saw what Dylan G did and is capable of doing last night. You have Jonathan Neese.
And I think Jeremy Hefner is a lot better than what his record indicates, too.
All of a sudden,
hey, Chippa Jones.
All of a sudden, you've got 5 guys giving you a chance to win every night, not once every 5th night. As he just struck out the side in the Atlanta second. 4 strikeouts for Zach Wheeler. No score.
Volkswagen pitching performance. The Braves starting pitching has been outstanding, especially here at home. 2.49 ERA, 4 runs or more in only 3 of 33 games at home, and a 2.02 ERA this month in home games. So outstanding work. 4-3 the final in game 1. And Alex Wood only gave up 1 of those runs in his 3 innings of work.
Big reason why they're so good at home.
It wasn't technically a blister for Alex Wood that knocked him out of the game in game 1.
That's good.
Cuticle problem is what we understand it was. Hopefully he'll be ready to go in a couple of days as Lagares hits a hopper foul at third, and Juan will head back to the plate behind 0-2.
This kid's fast. Covers a lot of ground in center field.
Just off the plate.
That was Alex Wood already back in the bullpen.
Two balls, 2 strikes for Lagares. And Mulholland not getting the outside corner. By my count, Lagares is the 9th different Met to start in the outfield this year.
Boy, that's a lot.
Popped up. Long run Freeman. Long run Hayward. Jason gets there and takes care of Lagares. 1 man down in the 3rd inning. Hope you'll join us here at the ballpark Saturday, June 29th for Alabama Day. The Braves will celebrate all the states that make up Braves country this summer. Alabama residents can take advantage of up to 33% off tickets to see the Braves play the Diamondbacks. For more details, stop by braves.com/Alabama today. Omar Quintanilla digs in. He's knocked in a run in the series. 1 ball, no strikes.
Another good thing for the Mets with regard to this young pitching is that they've got them under control for several more years from a payroll standpoint that will go a long way toward helping them improve their ball club.
And frankly, payroll's been an issue for the Mets after the Madoff situation and how that impacted the Wilpon family, the owners of the ball club. Mets payroll $73 million this year. $24 million of that going to Johan Santana, who's out for the year. Just short. Simmons. And it's Quintanilla. And that's the second out. Mentioned last night that Sandy Alderson, the Mets general manager, had a fan forum last week in New York. And obviously, fans in New York aren't all that patient. They want to win, and they want to win now, especially when they look at what the Yankees do across town. But Alderson intimated that in the next 6 months, the Mets are going to be very busy shoppers in both the trade and free agent markets. As Zach Wheeler makes his first big league at bat. Gets a nice hand and the ball low.
I wonder if it's hard for some of his family and friends to buy Mets jerseys.
Probably get them in maybe the clubhouse stores. I don't know. Certainly get them online, but.
Ball's going to strike. That's not an orange shirt that Chipper's wearing, by the way, is it?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy.
No. In comparison to Wheeler's dad, it's not quite orange. It's a little more, I don't know. Pinkish, fuchsia, I don't know.
Fuchsia.
Hey guys, Mets fans are certainly paying attention, including one Jerry Seinfeld with nearly 2 million Twitter followers. He just tweeted Wheeler with 5 exclamation points. So there's one guy who doesn't have any trouble finding a Mets jersey.
No, you're right.
Mahalam just struck him out. Wheeler that. 3 up, 3 down for Paul. Top of the Braves order coming up in a scoreless third inning. Will go to work against Zach Wheeler and the New York Mets. And fans, we invite you to hop on the bus and travel to the game in style. The Fox Sports South Fan Express is a custom luxury coach specially created for group travel to and from Turner Field. If your group wants VIP travel treatment, log on to foxsportssouth.com for more information.
I wonder what that's like inside. Maybe we should write it somewhere.
You should have that bus pick us up. We could all carpool on Friday.
We should. That's a great idea.
I'll bake.
Okay.
You will?
Maybe there's a microwave on there.
Never know. As Everton Simmons starts off the third inning. He walked, stole second, and was forced out to end the opening frame. So second time through the lineup now for the Braves. As we mentioned, with Alex Wood debuting as a starter against New York earlier today. Word's gotten around what he can do, what he can't, at least so far in tonight's first big league affair.
Gets under that a little bit, doesn't he?
Yes.
Just once in a while, he kind of pushes that fastball.
That might be the one where he's trying to guide it into the zone a little bit instead of just letting it go.
39 pitches, 20 balls, but 4 strikeouts. That sounds funny. Eased up, it appeared a little bit, threw it 96, and it was a perfect pitch.
Took a little off.
And that just missed. Simmons, another walk. That's 3 in the game for Wheeler. Let's see if Atlanta can chase him around.
Time for Georgia Power Energy tip number 5. Freddie Freeman, double F. Change your air filters every 1 to 3 months to help your heating and cooling system run more efficiently.
Hayward struck out in his first at bat.
What if these two guys played against each other at all in high school or travel ball or?
First pitch popped up left side. David Wright puts it away.
Should be a reasonable chance of that. Maybe 1 year separating them.
Yeah.
One on, one out for Justin. Justin broke his bat his first time. I think, Joe, you said a couple of weeks ago you avoid scouting in Georgia at your own peril.
Yeah. Crazy if you don't have a camp set up here somewhere. And by that I mean not a baseball camp, but an encampment of scouts to cover the state.
A few Georgia boys went in the first round this year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
1 ball, no strikes. And it's even to Justin at 1-1.
Ton of scouts here for this series, but more importantly for this doubleheader. Everybody wanted to see Alex Wood. Everybody wanted to see Harvey and Wheeler.
And frankly, they're probably looking at some of these Met position players too. With the deadline coming up in 6 weeks or so, don't know who, if any, is going to be available for this New York club. But 26 and 40 doesn't appear they're going anywhere this year. And they have some pieces that would be of value for playoff contending clubs.
I'm thinking there's probably 3 untouchables, and the rest of them are probably, I would assume, I want to say up for grabs, but certainly be willing to entertain some discussions.
First real good breaking ball from Wheeler. And he follows that with a fastball low. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You know, I'm sure that one of the selling points to David Wright about re-upping had to do with their young pitchers and that the ability to spend some money beginning next year.
Well, I mean, it's almost going to be the same sale they're going to have to make whatever free agents they identify.
Sure.
Like we talked about last night, you have to change the culture. I mean, the Braves did it here in the early '90s. Had to change the culture. You have to make guys want to come here, and you can bet that the beginning portions of those discussions are going to include Matt Harvey and this guy.
Runner goes, swing and a miss. The throw to second is into center field. Simmons got a late break. He's going to try for third, and the ball dropped by Wright. Upton strikes out. Simmons steals second, takes third, and stands with 2 outs 90 feet away for Freddie Freeman.
This thing turned into a pinball. Murphy tried to put the tag on before he got the baseball. Andrelton was going to be a dead out, but the throw from Lagares. It looked like it hit David right in a bad place, right in the glove.
Yeah, I think it was one of those ones that came in from right behind the runner, and David had a hard time picking it up.
The way Anderson got up and took off running, I thought, well, he's just going to run until somebody tags him.
Ball, 1 strike. Well, the Mets the other day had a bit of a Keystone Cops affair with the Cubs. They were throwing the ball all around the diamond. They were trailing 3-0 entering the 9th, and then Carlos Marmol came on, and Nieuwenhuis hit a game-ending, game-winning home run for New York. And as good as Freddie Freeman has been in situations like this, you can figure the kid is going to be awfully careful with him.
He's got a great arm, throws hard, but at this level, I don't care how good your arm is, you can't pitch 2-0 and 3-1 all the time and survive.
No, not when you're not throwing your off-speed pitches for strikes.
So he walks Freddie Freeman. 4 walks to go along with 5 strikeouts. And now B.J. Upton, the hitter, with runners at the corners.
This is one of those things, too, Tom, that you see Dan Worth and his pitching coach kind of draped over the railing, that you're just going to have to bite your lip a little bit on some of this. You know, there's just going to be some walks, I think, with Zach Wheeler, provided he stays here and they continue to work with him. But he's not quite the finished product that everybody wants him to be. And as soon as he gets that breaking ball over and has confidence to throw it early in the count, then things will be different. There's going to be some walks involved.
Well, you know, look, it's a situation where obviously for the Mets, he's here now. Now they're going to have to decide, is his mental makeup such that they can afford to keep him here, much like the Braves did with myself and Schmaltz and Avery and all the guys that they brought up here in the early 90s or the late 80s, early 90s, knowing that there wasn't going to be a lot of success, but you're looking for the guys to get better. You know, and if he has the mental makeup to where they're not worried about that, then, you know, you put him out there and you let him learn, you let him do his thing, you let him figure some things out. And, you know, that's the part that's the most difficult to figure out, is A, being in the strike zone aggressively all the time, and being aggressive with your off-speed pitches.
Well, let's look back on the career of Tom Glavine. 1988, first full year, 7-17, a .456 earning. 1989, 14-8, .368. Little regression in 1990, but then your streak of 3 straight 20-win seasons came in 1991.
And that it was all the ebb and flow of growing and learning things, and the league making adjustments and you having to make them back. You know, but I had the luxury that first year where I lost 17 games where it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I was winning or not. You obviously wanted that, but from the organization standpoint, it was, are you getting better as the season goes on each time you go out there? And if so, then this is where we want you to be, and that was the case.
Is this going to make you better next year?
Let me ask you this. This is maybe an unfair question. Had your career started in New York with those kinds of results, would you be sitting where you are?
No, it'd be a lot tougher, obviously. And that's, you know, the next part of the conversation is that, you know, New York is a different market. It's a little bit tougher to do that in, but I think the Mets fans are smart enough and knowledgeable enough to know that this is what they have. And that if they have to go through some growing pains this year, so what?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it wouldn't have mattered if it was in New York. It only would have mattered if you were on a winning ball club.
Right.
A competing ball club where they say, hey, we can't afford, we love Tom and we want him to get better, but not at this level, at our expense.
Right, which we've talked about the current state of the Braves. You know, these kids that come up here now, they don't have the luxury to grow on the job. They got to come up and produce.
Fly ball toward right. Bird is going to get there. And He'll haul it in to retire the side. Wheeler is striking out a lot of Braves hitters. He's walking a lot of Braves hitters, but nobody has scored tonight. By 5-Hour Energy, by the Georgia Lottery, by the Home Depot, and by Toyota. We head to the top of the 4th inning. 1, 2, and 3 coming up against Paul Mahallam, who's faced the minimum thanks to a couple of double play balls tonight. Paul has scattered 2 singles, but Wright and Satin have been retired on double play balls. So Cowgill starts things off and takes a called strike. That's foul past third, 0-2. 2 more with the Mets, then we're off to Milwaukee. The Brewers will be without Ryan Braun for that series. He's got a bad thumb. Then we head to Kansas City for a brief 2-game series. First time ever the Braves have played the Royals in their home ballpark.
Anxious to see it with all the changes they've made. I heard John Smoltz talking the other night about how he had never been there until last week or 10 days, and now he had put it among the nicest he had been to.
We may be catching the Royals at a real bad time. They're red hot and winning again tonight. They're up over Cleveland 2-0. The Royals have won 11 of their last 13 games coming into play today. Kansas City, a club that many thought would be a sexy pick to win the AL Central, is trending upward. Playing real good baseball. A shot off the glove of Freddie Freeman into shallow right field. Cowgill's hit the ball hard the other way twice. And he's 2 for 2.
See how high Freddie got. Kinda,
yeah.
Matty didn't catch it.
Murphy took a 3rd strike. So he's 0 for 1. Freeman with a backhand stab, fires wide of second, and a big stretch at first is too late to get Murphy.
Another good save, this time at shortstop, or at second base by the shortstop. A lot of the throws saved by Freddie Freeman. This time he has an errant throw saved for him.
God, sometimes the way he stretches, I'm just afraid he is going to shred his groin.
Maybe why he's not jumping too high.
Could be.
Ball one to David Wright. High fly toward right. Jason Hayward gets there. David Wright is the second out. Braves Summer Concert Series presented by Coca-Cola and Deltas continues Saturday, July 13th with a free post-game concert from the legendary Steve Miller Band. And you can get a field pass for the show for just $25. Visit Braves.com/concerts for details and tickets now. So here's Mahalam Joe, 3 2/3 innings. Hasn't allowed a run. It's good Mahalam day.
Double plays have really helped him. No walks. And getting ahead a lot of hitters.
Home sweet home.
Yeah.
Continuing his great work here at Turner Field.
That's yanked foul into the club level to the left. Third. A 1-1 count.
Chip, can we get your monitor squared away now?
Finally. You keep kicking the cable apart down below.
I'm not kicking the cable. I'm not. I don't think.
It's right by your chair.
Well, this is my chair. Why is that there?
Oh. Hear that?
You said my chair. I mean, I'm just trying to do a job here. It's distracting.
Don't bring me into this.
I can't wait to not see you guys. Especially you in the middle, Mr. Monitor Messer-upper.
That's the best part about the winter. You can pick your own friends.
To the left side, and that's going to sneak through by Marlon Byrd.
Meanwhile, back to the play-by-play story. That's right. Bird's 2 for 2. He feathers his nest with a soft single to left.
And here's Satin.
Look at Josh Satin's picture on the big screen. He's almost a Jason Marquis clone.
He looks like a Staten Islander.
It's my new favorite player. Anybody with eyebrows like that?
Your kind of guy.
I gotta like him. Check it out. Two balls, no strikes. Runners go. McCann's throw to third. Hits Murphy right in the backside. So the Mets pull off a double steal. Runners at second and third with 2 outs.
I think Murphy had that time perfectly because Paul hadn't been changing his looks back, and then took one right in the hamstring.
So Brian McCann will discuss strategy with a 2-2 count.
Well, Satin, since he got called up, is 0 for 3, or excuse me, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and he's hit into a double play. Recker on deck is 0 for his last 9 and 2 for his last 14, hitting about $150.
3 balls, 2 strikes.
Change up away.
I like that call.
Strike 3. Satin thought he earned ball 4 and looks back at Paul Schreiber and says, "Are you kidding me?" Mulholland strikes him out and strands a pair of Mets. Of the 4th inning, no score. Brian McCann ready to lead things off for the Braves. And all season long, Braves baseball on Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price, every day. Beautiful night, mid to upper 70s temperatures for Game 2. So Zach Wheeler back to work. 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. He took care of McCann with 97-mile-an-hour heat in their first matchup. Off the end of the bat and popped up shallow center. Harris gets there in time. One man down. Riding a hot streak on trivia. I think we've gotten 2 in a row, right?
Yes.
At a minimum, I think, right?
Let's not get carried away.
I mean, I'm just,
So our AT&T U-verse trivia question. More David Wright stuff. In the last 5 years, David Wright has recorded 60 hits against the Braves. That's the 5th most hits against Atlanta in the last 5 years. Who has the most hits against the Braves in that span? Will Venable.
Could be.
Mark Burley.
Yeah. Bronson Arroyo.
Alfonso Soriano. 1 ball, no strikes. And doubled on the first pitch he saw tonight. Does this kid look a little more comfortable now to you fellas?
A little bit, yeah. He's a little bit more aggressive with his fastball, mixing in his off-speed pitches a little bit. I think the changeup he got McCann out on.
Yeah, it was an 87-mile-an-hour changeup. But he should be getting to feel like he's in a baseball game, right? That he's not pitching in the big leagues. He's pitching in a baseball game.
Fly ball to right. Bird comes in. 2 outs.
Meaning you're able to relax a little bit and get into the flow of the game and into a bit of a routine.
Yeah, you get over that, hey, I'm happy to be here. This is great. Fulfilled a dream. Okay, now let me win a baseball game.
Well, without question, pitching has been the theme of this series between the Braves and Mets. Game 1, Dylan G and Tim Hudson locked up in a great duel. Hudson trailed 1-0 going to the 9th. G was 2 outs away from a complete game shutout. Gave up a hit to Upton and a homer to Freeman. As Chris Johnson tries to dump one into shallow right and does. Johnson aboard as you take a look at our Academy Sports and Outdoor leaderboard, continuing the theme of good pitching. Look at what June has meant for these 2 clubs.
And think what could be happening for the Mets if their bullpen would chip in a little bit.
Yeah, Matt Harvey had to hold on for dear life after he allowed the first 3 hitters to reach in the 8th. After striking out 13 men in 7 innings, the Braves got it to within a run, but couldn't break through and tie it or win it in their last at bat. Outside to Mahalam, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Talking to some scouts between games about Harvey. One guy said, I've seen him 3 times and I had him as a 7. Top rating being an 8 for a fastball. He said, it's now an 8. He said, another one said, that's the best I've seen his slider. Had more tilt to it than I've seen before. Everybody raving about it, and why not?
You know, some of the guys in the club, I was talking to them between games. They were kind of talking about, we were talking about during the game. As a hitter, there's nothing you can eliminate up there. I mean, it's just, you got to guess.
And Mahalam swings and misses, and that ends the Braves' 4th inning. Wheeler has 6 strikeouts through 4 innings and still no score. night doubleheader. This July, baseball's greatest stars gather for the biggest event of the summer. The Midsummer Classic returns to New York with home field advantage for the World Series on the line. It's the 2013 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and it's live from Citi Field in New York, July 16th, only on Fox.
Miguel Cabrera coming into play today, still leading the American League in hitting at .358 and has 71 runs driven in.
Strike one to Anthony Recker.
Kind of fun, or kind of neat last night. It's one of those perspectives, I guess, as a dad I've lost because I played the game for so long. But it was pretty fun going home. Peyton had about 10 All-Star ballots in the car, and he was filling them all out and going over guys. And hey, Dad, how about this guy or about that guy? And you forget how much fun and that kind of stuff is for the kids growing up watching baseball games.
Now with the electronic voting that you can do, fans can vote up to 25 times, I think, a day for their favorite player.
I heard some folks talking about that this morning in Atlanta for Freddie Freeman on the radio.
And a comebacker is off the body of Mahalam. Recker will be out at first. Where did this get Mahalam?
Glove hand, hopefully.
Well, Paul's been there, done that in terms of taking one back in the face, so this is a relief. Got his face out of the way, and then in the process his glove hand came up and knocked it down.
Compared to where he's been hit before, that's nothing. And I don't mean to minimize that comebacker. Paul was hit in the face with a line drive in his college days at Mississippi State. Had to go emergency orbital bone surgery. In fact, Freddie, was in the minor leagues, not in college. Beg your pardon. But that was something Freddie Gonzalez was concerned about this spring, right, Tom Hart?
He was, but Paul Mahalam doesn't seem very concerned about it. And I asked him if anything can be done to protect pitchers. He pointed out that during the spring, various manufacturers had some hats available to pitchers with Kevlar sewn in the front of the cap. It basically went around the front from ear to ear. And he said, you know, that's great, and perhaps someday that will help somebody, but it wouldn't have made a difference for me. But some of the guys who've gotten hit in the front and the side of the head recently, that Kevlar could have and would have made a big difference. I said, well, then why not wear it? He said, well, no one really wants to do it yet. And he added, he goes, I know this sounds bad, but I think it's going to take something really tragic to occur before big change comes about in pitcher safety.
To short. McGarris will be the out. We've shown graphics, Tommy, where pitch speed at 88, ball off the bat speed 100, 105, 106 miles an hour. How or what should baseball do for pitchers?
I don't know, and obviously that's been a big topic of discussion recently, and I echo some of what Paul said. I mean, I don't know how many guys that I've seen get hit that had even a helmet, say, like the first base coach wears, that would have helped, because most of the guys I've seen are either hit on the side of the cheek or square somewhere around the nose and things of that nature. I haven't seen that many guys get hit, on the top of the head or on, like above the bill of the cap. That being said, that doesn't mean you don't try and do some things to make it safer out there. But, I would be hard-pressed to think that guys are going to put on a cap that's protective if it's not 100% comfortable. And that's the big issue. You take for obviously an extreme example, you take one of those helmets that the first base coaches wear. No pitcher's ever going to wear that because it's not comfortable. But with the Kevlar and what they're able to do with that, I could see them making a hat that would be comfortable.
We'll just think about the start of today's play. Not a helmet issue, but for Alex Wood, look at the difficulty he had just wearing glasses.
Yeah, I mean, and that's so much of every sport with guys is you got to be comfortable, and if it's not comfortable, they don't care how safe it is, they're not going to use it.
Quintanilla takes outside, 3 balls and a strike.
I certainly understand that, and don't blame the pitchers for not wanting to wear that Kevlar type apparatus, but I can see in the near future hats for pitchers anyway coming down where they're almost like sideburns on the side.
Whoa, collision in the outfield with the Upton brothers. A playful shove from B.J. Upton as Justin collided with him in left center field. Might need helmets for the outfielders, at least in the Upton household. B.J. makes the grab, hangs on, and sends this game to the bottom of the 5th inning.
On the mound for the Mets, and he is pitching a gem. Only 2 hits allowed. Time now for our SunTrust shining moment. Gretchen Caney put together this all-star crew of Metro Atlanta ball players, from Dexter Fowler in center, Wheeler on the mound, McCann behind the plate. You could go all over the diamond and find all-stars, including Brandon Phillips from Stone Mountain at second base, and of course Jason Hayward in right. That's a pretty formidable crew. All guys who played high school baseball right here in Metro Atlanta.
That is a good team right there.
Marlon Byrd, Jeff Francoeur were honorable mentions for that team we showed you. So as we said, don't scout Georgia, you do so at your own peril. Templeton Simmons goes to work in the Braves' 5th inning. 3rd time through the order now for Zach Wheeler.
He struck out 73 batters in 68 2/3 innings in the minor leagues. He'd also walked 27.
Line over second and into right center field by Simmons.
And he sure wasn't giving up a ton of hits.
It's the same story tonight. That's only the 3rd he's given up to the Braves. One by Ugler, one by Johnson. Now that one by Andrelton Simmons. Third time the Braves have put their leadoff man on. It's been Simmons all 3 times. And here's Hayward. Jason has struck out and popped out. That's into the seats foul off Jason's bat. 1-1. All kinds of bad weather, as you know, in Atlanta today. Same story in the New York area. That Dodgers-Yankees series opener was postponed due to rain. They'll play 2 tomorrow. They had a delayed start in Philadelphia for the Nationals and Phillies. That one's in the 2nd inning. No score. But the Braves 7 ahead in the East. Ground ball to second. Quintanilla return. And Wheeler gets a double play ball. 2 outs.
I don't know if that ball got in on Jason or let's see. It was out away from him. Tried to go out around another high fastball though, and that's been something that's been hard for everybody to even make contact on is the pitch upstairs. But it had some life to it. It was running away from him.
Look out. That fan will come away with a souvenir as Upton lost the handle. Do they make him take that bat and put it?
I think they do.
I think they do.
Put it
Just for
somewhere?
safekeeping till the game's over.
No balls and a strike. And Justin breaks a bat. That's a fair ball. And a long throw takes care of Upton. Wheeler is through 5 innings in his big league debut and still no score. Real bad hitting weather because both Mahalem and Wheeler are dealing. Just 7 hits through 5 innings tonight in Game 2. And last night, if you missed it, this was one of the very big stories in the Braves' 2-1 last at-bat victory over the Mets. With that swing, Evan Gattis hurt himself.
So much so that they had to place him on the disabled list this morning. He'll be missing for 15 days. Braves called up Tyler Pasternicki.
Costly win for Atlanta, losing Evan Gattis, the most powerful pinch hitter, and a man in the thick of things for the National League's Rookie of the Year award. And Wheeler down on strikes. Mahalem has his 5th, and a good start to inning number 6. Question is now, if it's 2 weeks for Gattis, that gets him to right around July 1st. You see him getting his Rookie of the Month award before the game tonight. Is that enough time for him to maybe be back in the swing of things for the All-Star game, Tommy, and maybe even the home run contest?
Well, I think it gives him enough time to get back in the swing of things for the All-Star game, but I would imagine everybody associated with this organization would be pretty suggesting in terms of staying out of the home run derby.
Absolutely. Taking 50 or 100 swings with max effort, trying to hit everything out of the ballpark, coming off an oblique injury. I don't think the Braves want him anywhere near that.
2 quick strikes to Colin Cowgill. He has 2 of the 4 Mets hits. Letter high, strike 3. Cowgill down on 3 pitches. Back-to-back strikeouts for Mahalem. Game 4 of the series is tomorrow night. And here are your Chevron upcoming starting pitchers.
Sean Markham's had a rough go in a Mets uniform. He's a guy who's been battling a lot of arm injuries, both last year with Milwaukee and now with New York. 43 ERA against Chris Medlin.
We saw Markham pitch against the Braves here in Atlanta on May 3rd. He gave up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings of work. And Murphy, a line drive to left. He's aboard with 2 outs. And now Mahalem has to face David Wright with a man aboard. David Wright, 30 years young. Signed a gigantic contract extension with the Mets. Carry him through the 2020 season. He's the Mets franchise leader in hits, runs, walks, and RBIs. Named to his 6th All-Star game last year. And he hits one down the left field line. That's going to drop in fair. Murphy around second on his way to third. The throw comes into third, and that allows Wright to move into second base. So David Wright and Murphy with back-to-back 2-out hits, and that brings up Marlon Byrd.
Who's that Murphy, Wright, and Byrd conglomerate that we talked about in terms of keys to success tonight? They have 4 hits between them, and now a double included.
Well, he's got a base open here for the purposes of how he wants to approach Marlon Byrd. So I'm sure he's going to be extra careful.
Got ahead with a strike. Popped him up. Hurd jammed himself, and Mahalem takes advantage. The Mets threaten but fail to score in the top of the 6th inning. Freddie Freeman, B.J. Upton, and Brian McCann coming up next.
That brings us to our great clip of the game, and that will be Zach Wheeler. 83 pitches to this point in time, 5 innings, 3 hits, 4 walks, a little bit high, 6 strikeouts, but the strikeouts have been pretty much what he's been billed to be. An electric fastball. Guys have been chasing it up in the zone. They can't get to it. Tough pitch to lay off. He's gotten a ground ball double play when he's needed it. So all in all, pretty impressive debut for the kid, and I'm sure as Joe said earlier, he's settling in more and more to this game and trying to win this thing. And I think the only thing he's probably not going to be real happy about is the walks, and try to work on that his next time around.
Well, he's got Freddie Freeman to start the 6th of the Braves, and he's walked him twice. And a first pitch swing into straightaway right field. Marlon Byrd has it for the first out.
I'll tell you what he's doing, though, here in the last 3 innings or so, and his last walk was in the 3rd inning, is that he's starting hitters with something other than the fastball. He started this inning with a changeup at 78, and Freddie hits it off the end of the bat.
Well, I think that's a little bit of the cat and mouse game that'll go on now between him and the hitters. I mean, these guys know he's struggled a little bit with his consistency on his fastball. He obviously wants to improve that, so that's that guessing game of, is he going to start trying to throw a first pitch strike a little bit more often? They guess fastball, they get an off-speed pitch, and don't take a good swing.
Maybe another sign that he's settling in and pitching, not throwing, for this young Mets righty. 85 pitches in the game. More strikes than balls now. As Upton pops one foul out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike to BJ. Well, as good as Matt Harvey was in game 1, think of this. There were some scouting services and some publications that had Zach Wheeler as a higher rated prospect for the Mets than Matt Harvey. And a comebacker into center field. Upton's aboard with 1 out. Only time will tell if that projection is accurate, but if it's true, the Mets have themselves quite a powered tandem to build around in rotation.
Look, I mean, I think at this stage of the game, you can heap all the accolades you want, but you know, I think that there is a great reason to be excited about these two guys. I don't think there's any question that they're anchors of their rotation for the future. And you know, it's just for right now, I guess, a matter of does Zach Wheeler take off in the big leagues now that he's here, like Matt Harvey has.
What an exciting time in our game with all the young starting pitching we're seeing blossom. Braves know all about Brandon Beachy and Julio Teheran. Mentioned Shelby Miller of the Cardinals. He's having a fantastic rookie season.
Matt Harvey has 4 pitches. He's got an outstanding fastball, curveball, slider, excellent slider, and a changeup. And he's a year older than Zach Wheeler and a little more polished at this point. Yes, he has more big league experience, but his command was so good today. And Zach, while a great arm, he's still a little rough around the edges in terms of that command.
Upton's running. The pitch is strike. The throw to second. Not in time. Upton got in under the tag, and he's in scoring position with 1 out.
When you throw a short hop, this is the danger for a catcher. He got rid of it quickly, threw a BB down there, but by throwing a short hop, he forces the infielder to pick his glove up. And when you pick your glove up, guys slide under it. And when the tag's high, you don't get the call.
So a hit could put the Braves in front. The Mets have a shift on for McCann. Murphy in shallow right. Quintanilla playing right behind Upton at second base. Two balls, 2 strikes.
See, and on that change up, there was a little bit of a telegraph. Everything kind of slowed down. His whole arm action kind of slowed down as you waited for it to come out of his hand. And hitters, major league hitters, are going to pick that up compared to his previous deliveries.
Yeah, just doesn't quite throw it with the same conviction he throws his fastball.
A 95-mile-an-hour fastball popped away. And Brian McCann stays alive.
You know, he's got that perfect pitcher's build too. 6'4", 185. He's only 23. He'll still grow into his frame and add some strength.
Yeah, with that frame, you got to figure he's going to be pushing 200 pounds or 205 somewhere soon, and let's say kind of a prototypical starting pitcher's makeup nowadays.
Did he go? He did not. McCann walks.
Brian was even yelling, no. Yeah, he might have got a break.
So another visit for Zach Wheeler from Dan Worthen. In fact, the entire Mets infield will gather atop the mound. First and second, 1 out. Scoreless game. Atlanta batting in the 6th. As we approach 9 o'clock in game 2 today.
They have 2 guys up in their pen, lefty and a righty, Edgin and Atchison.
Tell you what, for all the talk we've done about game last night, doubleheader today. All the concern before yesterday's game with pitching and how these guys were going to be come game 2. I don't think either manager could have asked for a better situation in terms of the availability of their bullpens for their second game.
Agreed. And while we're talking about, or at least I was, and mentioned that as good as Zach Wheeler looks and as good as he's probably going to be, and still a little rough around the edges, he's right now firing a 4-hit shutout in his major league debut.
Let's see if Uggla can take care of that shutout part with a hit here. Wheeler got popped. 1 ball, no strikes.
Dan's hit the hardest ball off of him tonight. A double back in the second.
But it's spots like these where Dan has really struggled this year. With runners in scoring position, less than 2 outs, Dan started today's play 2 for 21. Away from the breaking ball. It's 1-2.
That might have been the best one of those he's thrown tonight.
Those are Dan's overall numbers with runners at second base or third. And a nice stop by Recker. 2-2. Dan's down swinging. Big strikeout for Wheeler, his 7th.
I'm not sure what this was, but it might have been a cutter, Tommy, and I haven't seen him throw one. That was 90.
Cutter or slider. Yeah, I think it's a slider.
It was a short slider.
Short slider.
Yeah, you're right. 90 miles an hour.
Dan saw the best curveball he's thrown and the best slider he's thrown. Those are 2 quality pitches in a big situation right there.
So it's up to Chris Johnson if the Braves are to cash in a 6th inning scoring chance. He's 1 for 2. The hit came in his last at bat. Braves are 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position in game 2 of the doubleheader. Overall today, 3 for 14 and 3 for 18 for the series. And 3 for 19 if the Mets infielder catches this pop-up. And they will. The Braves had them first and second, 1 out, a strikeout and a pop-out. Sends our game to the 7th inning. Still 0-0. got quite a streak working against the Mets.
Yeah, he sure does. He's been good tonight so far, and had a little bit of everything going. He's our Zaxby's indescribably good play. 6 innings, 6 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, couple double play balls. He's been smart enough to get a ground ball double play whenever he's let the first guy of the inning get on. So that's always a good thing. And had all his pitches working, curveball, slider, fielded his position or self-defense, whatever you want to call that. And he's been pretty good. And he's got a good little streak going against the Mets here. Last 4 starts, 27 1/3 scoreless innings. Only 3 other pitchers have had 4 straight scoreless starts against the Mets, and Sandy Koufax, Vern Law, and Tom Griffin. So pretty good company, pretty good streak going there. Let's hope he can continue it for at least a couple more innings.
As he has Satin, Recker, and Lagares coming up for the Mets. Line drive into right. So the Mets have a leadoff man aboard. That's the 4th time New York has put its first batter on in an inning tonight. Delta Airlines, proud sponsor of the Atlanta Braves, as Recker's up with a man aboard and nobody out. Strike 1 back to the screen, and a visit from Brian McCann. Washington has scored against the Phillies. They lead 1-0 in the 4th inning. The Pirates lead the Reds 3-0. Jeff Samardzija and the Cubs lead Adam Wainwright and the Cardinals 4-0. Wainwright gave up 4 first-inning runs today. They've given up 4 runs in the first inning all year coming into that start against Chicago. Later on, Miami's in Arizona, and the Padres are hosted by the Giants. One ball, 1 strike.
As we talked about the Padres in game 1, they are now in 3rd place out west. They climbed over the Giants, just a game back of Arizona.
How about that race, huh? 4 teams within a game and a half of the lead. Dodgers picking up the rear, 7 back. And LA rained out against the Yankees today.
Four teams with winning records.
San Diego and the Dodgers got to be the 2 surprises in that division.
Yeah, for totally different reasons, huh?
Yep.
Remember, San Diego started the year 5-15. High fly center. B.J. Upton going back, still going back, and Recker has homered. That is a true Recker home run. It stops the Mahalam streak, and it gives Wheeler a 2-0 lead.
Paul made a couple of good pitches earlier in this count that looked like borderline pitches. He didn't get the call, and he couldn't get Recker to swing at him. So now 3-1. Got to make a good pitch. He was too good.
York 2, Atlanta nothing. Juan Lagares.
That fooled me. I didn't think he got that much of that.
Me either. It sounded good, but I didn't think he would carry that far.
So the Mets catchers today have had quite a day. Buck homered in the afternoon game. Record goes deep tonight. And how about their work in handling the young starters? That's the part that's often overlooked too. Foul passed first. Lagares will face a 2-2 pitch. High hopper. Simmons gets the big bounce and gets Lagares by a step and a half. One away in the seventh. Omar Quintanilla. Two balls and a strike. Mahalam's spot is due first when the Braves bat in the bottom of the inning. His next pitch will be his 100th. And it's a base hit to left. Third hit of the inning for New York. And the second of the series for the Mets shortstop.
It's been a very frustrating year for the Mets. We've been talking about some of the highs and lows of the pitching staff, the lack of offense from their outfield. But looking at their matchups against other teams, there's things that just don't seem to match up. I mean, they swept the Yankees in the 4-game series, 2 at home, 2 on the road, but they're 3-8 against Miami. They got swept by 3 games by Cincinnati at home. They got swept 3 games by Colorado at Colorado. But they're 7-1 against the American League.
It's weird.
I wonder if they have that letdown after a big series, and that's when they're catching the Marlins. Or I know they caught the Marlins after they swept the Yankees, right?
Yes.
So, young team, maybe they have some of that going on.
3-2 against the Nationals.
And how about the way they responded after last night's, or this early morning's heartbreak, losing on the walk-off homer. They won game 1 4-3, and they're winning tonight 2-0.
Well, that age-old saying about momentum in baseball. It's your next game starting pitcher. That was the perfect guy for them to have on the mound game 1 today after that loss last night.
And Wheeler couldn't get a bunt down, and with 2 strikes fouls it away and is retired. That's the second out of the inning. Paul Mahalam has 8 strikeouts tonight. Well, fans, come see former Braves greats at the Braves Alumni Weekend, June 28th through the 30th. See Javi Lopez, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and others as they conduct autograph signings pregame. And they'll play in the alumni softball game Saturday. Get your tickets at Braves.com/tickets or call 800-745-3000. No balls and a strike. Gave Mulholland credit for one too many strikeouts. He has 7. Now 8. He'd like to make it 8 if he can get Cowgill. He got him last time up. That was in the 6th inning. Now the Braves bullpen starts to stir. With a man aboard and 2 outs. Well, tie taken. 2-2.
Corey Guerin begins to play catch. Chip in the Braves pen.
The 2-2. Fly ball center. BJ comes in and with his good speed catches up to it, and that retires the side. But the Mets have finally broken through. Recker hits a 2-run homer off Paul Mulholland, ending his scoreless streak against the Mets. And at the 7th inning stretch, it's 2-0 New York. Ball is brought to you in part by Georgia Power, by Ram Trucks, and by AT&T. We head to the bottom of the 7th inning, and the night is done for Zach Wheeler. Terry Collins called on Scott Atchison to come out and warm up. He threw 2 warm-up pitches, and then Winston Payne, and he's going to have to come out of the game because of injury.
Well, he was their 26th guy. They just activated him from the DL, but looked like he was holding his leg like he had injured his groin. That was on a warm-up toss, and wow.
So the Mets will have to go to their bullpen once again and protect a 2-0 lead. Brandon Lyon appears to be the next man coming on. We'll see if that's the case in a second. The Mets made a pitching change, had to make another one. We'll tell you all about that in a moment. All season long, Braves baseball on Sports South, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff for low price every day. Here's our game summary with the Mets up 2 moments ago. Anthony Recker hit a 2-run homer to center field, supporting Zach Wheeler's big league debut, a 4-hit shutout through 6 innings.
Pretty impressive. He showed good stuff, some pretty good poise, and did what he had to do. And if you're a Mets fan and Mets organization, you got to be excited about the 2 young kids you saw out there on the mound for them today.
Well, then after the veteran Scott Atchison was called on, he injured himself warming up. He's taken down, and Brandon Lyon now comes on and is on for the 31st time.
He's really picked up the pace. The veteran got off to a rough start, had some trouble even against the Braves early in the year, but dating back to May 5th, he has a 2.34 ERA and unscored upon in 13 of his last 16 appearances.
Mets signed him as a free agent in February of 2012. He was acquired by the Blue Jays from Houston with Jay Happ and David Carpenter, who's now with the Braves, for Francisco Cordero, Ben Francisco, Joe Musgrove, Carlos Perez, David Rollins, and Asher Wojciechowski on July 20th. A 10-player trade. So he'll have as much time as he needs to loosen up after Atchison departed. And we'll take a moment and try to answer our AT&T Givers trivia questions. Over the last 5 years, David Wright has 61 hits against the Braves. That's the 5th most in baseball. Who has the most?
I'm going to say Jose Reyes.
Chase Utley.
I was going to say Chase Utley. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say Chase Utley, too. Or Jimmy Rollins. I'll say Jimmy Rollins. Jimmy Rollins.
Wow.
Really? Ryan Zimmerman.
That's a surprise.
A fellow third baseman. We should have thought of that, too. So Lyon looks like he's raring to go. Or roaring to go, whichever way you want. Jordan Schaefer's going to bat for Paul Mahalem. 7 innings of 2-run ball for Paul. Frustrating series so far for Atlanta. Not a single pitch has been thrown by the Braves, or by the Mets for that matter, where Atlanta has led.
Who would have thought that coming in?
That's an important stat. Braves awfully good when they score first. 28-5, in fact, is Atlanta when they put the game's first run on the board. Let's see if they can get it even here in the 7th. Schaefer tries to bunt, and it's a good one. Lyon late to first.
Jordan Schaefer's turn to grab at his leg. Good bunt. Maybe while he was dodging that throw, maybe that caused it. David Rackley, the umpire at first base, wasn't even sure if Satin caught the ball. He was looking behind him.
Schaefer will stay in the game, but still look like a hand behind the right hamstring. Tying run at the plate, Andrelton Simmons. He's reached 3 times tonight.
Didn't like that call, or if Schaefer's bluff at first caused him to freeze and not offer at that pitch, thinking he was running.
Was that a trial balloon for Schaefer off first to see how the hamstring felt?
No, I don't think so. But as a hitter, especially right-handed hitter, you see that out of the corner of your eye. Even if you got a good pitch and you thought he was going, you're going to give him a chance to steal. And it was a good pitch to hit.
Base hit to right. Atlanta plays it station to station. Simmons is 2 for 2. And here come the Braves again in the late innings, something they've been awfully good at on this homestand.
I think when he got to second, Schaefer looked in the dugout and threw his hand up like, I'm okay. But interesting, against Brandon Lyon this year, right-handers actually hitting him better than left-handers. Right here, when Jordan got to second and the play came to an end, I thought he looked in. That hand gesture I thought was a stop sign, but not necessarily so.
So here is a left-hander. It's Jason Hayward. Against Lyon coming in, lefties 229, righties 313. No strikes.
Well, right away, Zach Wheeler's getting a taste of what the rest of these starting pitchers in the Mets rotation have been having to deal with an awful lot this year.
Mets needed 4 pitchers to get out of the 8th inning in game 1. But it worked. They won 4-3. Lyon is officially the second pitcher of the inning, but he's the only one who's thrown a pitch. After Atchison left warming up. That's Josh Edgin loosening. He's getting ready for Freddie Freeman, who's in the hole for Atlanta. hammered down the right field line, but foul.
That's frustrating as a hitter. Jason did. He waited back as long as he could on what looked like a real slow, sloppy breaking ball. And it was coming back to him, and he just couldn't wait any longer. And that's why he hooked it foul.
Ryan now ahead, a ball and 2 strikes. Hopper off the plate. One play and it's to first. That's as good as a sacrifice for Hayward. A productive out chases Schaefer to third, Simmons to second, and Justin Upton coming up.
Time for our Moe's Southwest Grill home wrecker. And it has to do with these types of home runs for the Braves. From the 7th inning on, first in the National League after the 7th inning, 31 homers, plus 18 in differential and 31 in run differential. They are second from the 7th inning on. A lot of come from behind work. They have to do it again tonight.
Former Diamondback teammates squaring off. Justin Upton and Brandon Lyon were together in the desert in 2008. 2007 as well.
That's a tough take right there. When he was in scoring position, you get a fastball in, and to lay off, recognize right away that it was too far in. Good patience.
See if that pitch is trying to set up something soft away again. He started with a slow breaking ball.
Balls and a strike.
Recker remembers that broken bat grounder he hit to third last time up, but that was a guy throwing 95 and not Brandon Lyon.
Perfect pitch. Drive center. Lagares makes the catch. Tagging from third and coming home is Jordan Schaefer. And Justin Upton tallies his 33rd RBI, and the Braves are down a run. It's a 2-1 game.
Good work by Jordan Schaefer, leading off the inning with the bunt single and getting his way around to third base, and then Justin Upton doing what he needed to do, and that's at least get one home.
And now with first base open, Terry Collins can read the press notes too. He knows how good Freddie Freeman has been in run scoring situations in 2 outs. He's not going to pitch to him, but will go after B.J. Upton with a righty-righty matchup with what will be a 2-on, 2-out scenario. BJ 1 for 2.
BJ was a little frustrated last night and into this morning because he hit some balls, squared them up, or just got under them. I remember one he hit in the 7th inning in game 1 of this series, I'll say, that he just got under, just missed it, and had a base hit his last time up. With 2 out and runners in scoring position, looking for his first hit of the year.
Well, it's a good time for it.
Yep.
One ball, no strikes. Bouncing ball to second, and Murphy will win the race to the bag. And that retires Freddie Freeman and the Braves. Atlanta, though, picks up its first run of the night, and we move to the 8th. 2-1 Mets. Play. It's time for our first AT&T call to the bullpen. It's Everyday Anthony. Anthony Varvaro is on in relief of Paul Maholm, who threw 110 pitches and allowed just 2 runs in 7 innings of work.
30th game of the year for Anthony. Worked last night, this morning. Take your pick.
All the above.
An inning, a hit, 0s across.
Anthony gets the 8th inning tonight with Murphy, Wright, and Bird. This was the trio that the Braves were hoping wouldn't beat them tonight. Although against Maholm, that group tallied 4 hits. It was Anthony Recker, the catcher and 6th place hitter, that accounted for both Mets runs. A 2-run homer in the 7th. Murphy 1 for 3 in the game. His average at .281. The first pitch popped up foul over near the Mets dugout and out of reach.
good day for that young man.
And Murphy down the right field line. Could he keep it fair? No. Good thing it had the distance.
That was close. That was almost like a pesky pole homer.
Yeah. Would have been way gone around the pesky pole.
Yep. Had it right in his hands.
Fourth outing for Anthony in his last 5 days.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Another team to keep an eye on, although it's in the other league, is Toronto. They won again today. They beat the Rockies 8-3. Blue Jays have won 7 straight. They're the hottest team in the American League. And one of you mentioned Jose Reyes as one of our trivia guesses. That was you, Joe?
Yes, sir.
It's a good thing you did, because Jose Reyes is getting closer and closer to going out on a rehab assignment for Toronto. They're hanging in the AL East. 8 games back of Boston. Murphy skies one to center. Plenty of room for BJ. He's there. Murphy's out number 1. David Wright's 1 for 3. Breaking ball has right behind. Strike 1. Another chance for Upton, perhaps. Deep center. On the warning track. At the wall. Just enough room. Whew. 2 outs.
Boy, is he strong.
You got to play with that kid in his first couple of games in the big leagues. It's got to be fun to sit here now and watch him be a major league veteran and a star in his own right.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch him grow up, both as a player and as a leader on that team. And you know, he's a quality guy, great for that organization, and perfect guy to build a team around.
Knowing what the Mets are going through now and what they've been through the last couple of years, and knowing what's probably ahead for the next couple, were you surprised that he decided to stay in New York?
No, I don't think so. You know, I mean, I know he likes the organization and he's been treated well there, and you know, he's the face of the organization, and you know, I know he admires Derek Jeter a lot, so you know, I think he sees an opportunity there to be that kind of player for the Mets. And you know, look, that's one of the beauties of being that type of a team and that type of a market is, yeah, you might have a couple of lean years here and there, but it's not going to be long before they get things figured out financially, and then they can start spending some money again.
mentioned, Wright signed through the 2020 season. He's 30 now. That would take him through the age 37. In all likelihood, he'll finish his career as a Met, barring injury or being traded. One ball, 2 strikes for Marlon Byrd. 2 hits tonight. And his bid for a third will be rewarded as Farvaro kicks that ball toward Ugla, and Byrd never stopped running and is in at second base. That was odd.
I give Marlon Byrd some credit there. He never stopped. I didn't realize he was that fast. He was flying around first base.
I've said this before, but because I live in Cobb County, I knew about Marlon Byrd. He was a terrific running back in high school.
So he ran toward daylight, has a double. 3 hits tonight. Josh Satin with 2 outs. Pickoff play and the throw into center field. And then Upton overruns the ball. And Byrd will round third and score. Wow. Might have 2 errors on that play.
Should.
I would think so.
E1 and E8.
Look at BJ's head when he went down to field that ball. His head was looking at Marlon Byrd. He was not looking at the baseball.
A very costly unearned run makes it a 3-1 game.
Work hard to get that deficit down to 1 run in the 7th and give it right back.
And Satin takes a walk. The Braves have played the Mets a lot in double headers. And barring a late comeback, the Mets are going to sweep this doubleheader from the Braves. There's some thumbnail facts about double dips this year.
Surprised there's that many sweeps. 7 out of 11. It's hard to sweep a doubleheader.
It's been hard to get Wrecker out. A shot into center field. And the Mets have 2 on with 2 outs. That'll bring a visit from Roger McDowell as the Braves bullpen starts to work.
Luis Avilan is up, but doesn't appear to be warming up yet.
All this trouble came after 2 are outs. Remember, Bird hit a ball that glanced off the leg of Arvaro. Looked like it was headed right toward Dan Uggla, but Dan couldn't stop his momentum moving toward the second base bag in time. Bird never stopped running, reached second. Anthony tried to pick him off, threw the ball into center field. Upton overran it. Bird scored. Then a walk to Satin, a single to Recker, and now Juan Lagares up ahead in the count. A shot into left field. That'll get down in front of Justin. Streaking around third is Satin. The throw to the plate is awful. And the runners move up. It's 4-1.
Another mistake in the outfield. It looked like Justin got to this ball in good fashion, but then had a little trouble as it rolled out of his glove up into his arm, and then just airmailed everybody and allowed everyone to move up, including Lagares, who hit it.
It's an RBI single. Lagares takes second on the throw. Recker's at third, and the Mets with 2 in the 7th and 2 in the 8th lead 4-1 now for Omar Quintanilla.
These are the kind of mistakes the Mets usually make that help the opponent.
I got to bear down and try and keep it right here. Three-run game with the troubles the Mets bullpen has had, and the Braves' ability to come back in games, and those stats we showed you with their 7th inning on power production. They're still very much in this thing, but we want to keep it at 3. Don't let it get to 5.
Two balls and a strike. Bounced off the plate foul. It's a 2-2 count. Four runs, 12 hits, and error for the Mets. They've left 5 on base. 1 run, 6 hits, 2 errors for the Braves, who have stranded 10.
Eight of those left on were while Wheeler was still pitching.
Base hit to right. That's going to plate 2 more. Quintanilla breaks the game open for New York. It's 6-1. And that sends some of the Braves fans heading for the concourse to get something cool to drink.
Fastball had the middle of the plate at the knees.
Danny Valdespin will hit with 2 outs and 4 in the 8th. Ball 1. It is an amazing game, is it not? Barbaro got the first 2 outs, although a couple of the balls were hard hit. Then a comebacker glances off of his body and chaos reigns.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the 2 outs, you're not saying that, by any stretch of the imagination anybody relaxed, but, that's where you always hear people yelling, come on, finish the inning, let's go, bear down. I mean, you just, you don't know. And every opportunity you give them is one that they're trying to take advantage of, and they have.
2 balls, no strikes.
Not quite the success he had last year pinch hitting, but still has a pinch hit homer already.
And a 4-pitch walk puts Valdespin at first. Freddie Gonzalez doesn't want to have to go to his bullpen again. Remember, Alex Wood came out of the pen to start game 1 today. He was followed by Rasmus, who went 3 innings. Guerin, Carpenter, and Walden each pitched a frame.
Yeah, Carpenter threw a ton of pitches, and the next pitch will be the 30th this inning for Barbaro. Guerin now up, loosening up, and he pitched in game 1.
So you've got to figure that Rasmus wouldn't be available for a couple of days. Alex Wood with that cuticle / blister issue. That's going to be tender, so you figure he's going to be on the sidelines until that heals a bit. And the Braves have to get down to 25 men in time for tomorrow's game. So lots of things factoring into how the roster will be composed when we meet you again for game 4 tomorrow night. 1 ball, 1 strike for Colin Cowgill. To short. Simmons has it, and the inning mercifully comes to an end. That was not a lot of fun. 4 runs across for the Mets. It's now a 6-1 New York game.
6-1. And fans, spend your July 4th week at Turner Field this year. See the Braves take on the Miami Marlins starting Tuesday, July 2nd through Thursday, the 4th, and enjoy post-game fireworks shows on both July 3rd and the 4th. Visit Braves.com/tickets or call 800-745-3000 for tickets today.
Nicely done as we head to the last of the 8th. And that's David Aardsma.
Only 4 games for him. He's pitched well, no walks, 6 strikeouts since he got called up. He got released by the Marlins and signed by the Mets.
Aardsma's from Colorado, went to Cherry Creek High School. Brad Lidge went to that high school, as did Josh Bard. Went to Penn State and transferred to Rice. If I had to guess, his favorite animal would be an aardvark.
You would think. He was in New Orleans with the Marlins organization, got released. 5 days later, the Mets signed him and sent him to Las Vegas. He had 3 saves in 8 games there. And the Mets said, "Who's this guy? Get him up here." Made his Mets debut, by the way, against Miami, which had to be kind of sweet for him.
One ball, 2 strikes for Brian McCann. And that just missed. It's 2-2. Top of the hour in Atlanta, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, a tight ball game. It was 2-1 after 7. The Mets with a big 8th. And McCann gets things started with a tomahawk single into center field.
Four-seamer, let her high, and he went up on top of it. Brian's first hit tonight to go with a walk. Aardsma, sorry, Chip, 92, 93 on his fastball. Slider that you just saw, and a changeup. Oh boy, what a stop. Rutgers had himself a good game here in game 2 of the doubleheader.
Made a nice stop to keep McCann at first.
It's a textbook right there.
Aardsma's taken a real roundabout route through the major leagues. He was the #1 pick of the Giants in 2003. He made the leap from single-A baseball to the Giants, then went to Triple-A, then started the 2005 year in Double-A at Norwich. He made his way to the Cubs, working back to short. Uggla is doubled up. 2 men are out. But for Aardsma, his best run of luck came in Seattle, where he was their closer and nearly made the All-Star team in 2009. And so for the Mets, another experienced guy to add to a bullpen that's been a mess. Right, Tom?
Well, the bullpen has been a mess. Maybe his college baseball team had a better bullpen or better arms. He played for Rice. They won the 2003 College World Series, a week in rotation, 3 sophomores. Philip Umber, Jeff Neiman, and Wade Townsend. They would all be first-round picks. Ardsma was coming out of the bullpen, and they had a young shortstop by the name of Paul Yanish, who could pick it back then pretty well.
And Paul's playing shortstop for the Gwinnett Braves. Chris Johnson hits 1 ball, no strikes.
Groin injuries are hard to diagnose and even harder to heal because you don't know until you really stress it as to whether or not it's going to be okay.
Another chance at short. Quintana with a low throw to first. Satin digs it out, and David Ardsma has an effective 8th inning for New York. We go to the 9th, 6-1 Mets.
Anybody tired of the orange and blue yet? We got 2 more against these guys as the 5-game series continues with the Eastern Division rivals. Take a look at the pitching matchups the rest of the way with 2 more to go. It'll be Markham and Medlem tomorrow, and then Nice and Minor to finish things off on the air at 6:30 on Thursdays. Guys, remember Chris Medlin homered against the Dodgers? It was his first career home run. A couple of days ago, I was in the clubhouse. He had the ball from that home run, and he had the bat. He was putting both away for safekeeping. I said, Chris, there's hits left in that bat. Why would you put it away? At least you use it till it breaks. He said, no, this one's going on the shelf. Glavin, did you use your bat again from your lone home run, or did you put it away?
No, that went home immediately. I don't know if I still have the baseball, but I have the bat.
Wait a minute, what do you mean you don't have the baseball?
Well, you know, my kids, they might have taken it out of a trophy case somewhere and played catch with it, knowing them, but the bat's off limits. They can't touch that.
Let's hope the Mets can't touch Corey Guerin as we head to the 9th. 6-1 game. Mets with 13 hits. And Danny Murphy has had a big day.
He has a good setup. Everything about his fundamentals of hitting are all real basic, solid. Hands at the top of the strike zone. Real loose. And then he pretty much just drops the barrel on everything. In, middle, out, doesn't matter. But he's got a real nice loose grip on the bat. He may have lice too. I don't know.
Well, he's always a pest against the Braves. That might be part of the thinking, but you know, it's hard to judge a guy. You only see him 16, 18 times, depending on how many times he plays in a series. But I would think this would be a real valuable player for the Mets to think about restocking their club with at the deadline. Don't know if that's in their thinking or not, as he is down on strikes.
It's funny, every time I bragged on him, he struck out. So I need to do that more often.
We'll remind you.
Uh-huh.
And I like him. I like watching him play, and I made the comment earlier this morning, this early afternoon. Reminds me a little bit of Chase Utley. He's not the most fluid guy at second base, but makes seemingly all the plays. And he puts the ball in play while at the plate with some pop. One out in the ninth. David Wright. David's going to be busy in the next couple of weeks, not only trying to make the All-Star team as a starter in his home ballpark, but he has to pick the National League Home Run Derby contestants. Little pop into shallow right. That's going to get down. 14 Mets hits in game 2. 2 of them by David Wright.
That was his 1500th hit, wasn't it? Or...
Yep, that's 1,500. Wonder if David knows it. Apparently not, because the ball's still in play. Swing and a miss by Marlon Byrd. He has 3 hits. To third. Johnson Tugler for 1. The throw to first is not in time. Wright forced at second. 2 men are out.
It's played by Chris Johnson.
Braves Live's coming up after our ball game. It's presented by AT&T. You'll see the menu in a moment. Not much fun for the Braves today. They're on the short end of 1 game already and in deep trouble in game 2.
In that 20-inning game that they had last week, they went 0 for 19, I think, with runners in scoring position. They went about 19 for 19 in the 8th inning. Well, they were coming through with some clutch hits, and it was some guys that hadn't been playing. Record, Lagares, Quintanilla, all coming through with clutch hits after 2 were out. The Mets version of the shock troops coming through.
So David Wright, a lifetime Met. Joins some very impressive company. All of those hits with 1 club. Tom?
The problem is the ball hasn't been taken out of play. And while David Wright, I'm sure, would certainly want the ball from his 1,500th hit, a couple of guys that are really stewing, the authenticators from Major League Baseball, they are just praying this thing doesn't get fouled off and get in the stand somehow, because the only way they can authenticate it is if it stays within their line of sight and protected.
Tom, I can't believe they haven't taken it out of play after the base hit, after a ground ball.
Yeah, during warm-ups, if the ball skips to second, the umpires want to toss the ball out.
Or even a pitch in the dirt, it's going to go out right away. I can't believe this baseball has lasted this long.
Baseball has been in play more than any in the last 10 years.
Yes.
And that's ball 4 outside. Time called. McCann will talk to Corey Guerin. Satin walks for the 2nd time in as many innings. Well, wouldn't somebody on the Mets bench know that that's a milestone hit?
Well, if they don't, I'm surprised the guys from MLB aren't having somebody say, "Hey, get us that baseball," you know.
Like a lot of guys are really worried about it.
I can't believe nobody over there. It almost makes you think we don't have it right, but I can't believe nobody over there is doing anything.
And to go this long without a foul ball, that's impossible. There's real pressure here.
Maybe Recker will foul it into the Mets dugout. I sure hope he's saying, you know, that's my 1500th hit.
He might be. I think he did.
He might have. Somebody from the clubhouse may have come down and said, you know, the ball is still in play.
Well, you know, Fred Stone and John Holland listen to every word on our broadcasts.
They're stern down there now.
Yeah, now they know.
And it's still in play.
And it's another walk.
It's kind of hard for the hitting team to call time and want the ball to be thrown out and say, hey.
Yeah, after all, it's obviously working for the Mets. Guerin can't throw a strike with it.
Now.
Where's the ball going to go? Oh!
All right, now.
Now we're.
Okay. All right.
The home team has to take care of that.
Poor Authenticator's over there sweating bullets.
Bless his little heart.
He thought he was going to have to go in the stands and wrestle somebody for it.
Kind of surprised I haven't given him any props on the scoreboard here either.
Oh, thank goodness.
There we go.
One ball, one strike. Fouled at the plate. No score of note today in Cincinnati. The Pirates beat the Reds 4-0. The interesting story there, Charlie Morton picked up the win for Pittsburgh, and Matt Latos took the loss. Latos at one point had a Chris Medlin-esque streak rolling. He was at 20 or 21 starts in a row for the Reds without Cincinnati losing the game. Well, the Pittsburgh Pirates, with that 4-0 shutout today, believe it or not, have the lowest ERA in baseball since May 1st.
No kidding. And they just lost A.J. Burnett to the disabled list.
Yeah, with a calf problem. But Charlie Morton blanked Cincinnati today. Pirates now 42-29. And closing in on the Reds for second place. Lagares is down swinging. A milestone for David Wright. Hit number 1500 is safely authenticated as we head to the bottom of the ninth. After this doubleheader pitched by Matt Harvey in Game 1 and Zach Wheeler in Game 2, but certainly, fellas, the early returns awfully impressive.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to like if you're a Mets fan, like we've said, with these two guys that were out there today. Zach Wheeler, his Major League debut, very impressive. Did a lot of things well. Obviously, again, the walks they want to cut down on, but as a starting pitcher, when you throw as many pitches as he did and you throw 2 more strikes than you did balls and you're throwing a shutout, you got good stuff.
Did you win your big league debut?
No, I got killed.
Oh, well, I didn't want to bring back.
Well, no, it was all part of my plan. I lost that first game on the road, and then I came and won my second game at home, so that was my first win.
Nice. Well, technically for Wheeler, this is a home game too.
It is.
He's
So,
an Atlanta kid. And Reed Johnson's going to grab a bat. He will hit for Corey Guerin. Medlin and Markham tomorrow night. And if the forecasts weather-wise are accurate in Atlanta, it's supposed to be a beautiful day.
Great.
One ball, 2 strikes.
The Mets brass has to feel very good about their 2 young guys today.
Heck, they ought to feel great about the first 3 starts. Don't forget Dylan G.
Right.
Who had a 3-game winning streak working into the 9th inning with the bases empty and 1 out. Gave up the hit and the homer to snap the streak. He gave up 5 hits, 3 of them to Freeman, but it cost him the game. Ouch. Ray Johnson hit. And he wears that protective sleeve, as you see, and he'll make his way to first base on a hit by pitch.
Ooh, that one missed the guard. That got some tricep.
Simmons on base all day today. He walked in his first 2 trips. He singled in his last 2. Unique note on David Ardsma. I believe it's still true. He tops Hank Aaron in one very important statistic. There's the pitch. It's cued to the right side, and he'll make the play to first. Ardsma's listed before Aaron in the Baseball Encyclopedia. I think David is the first entry overall. Wow.
Pitching change?
I hope not. Runner at second, 1 out.
Oh,
Terry.
I'm going to go down and put him in a figure 4 tomorrow.
As you should.
Your old teammate, Terry Collins.
Wouldn't be the first time either.
Josh Edgin is on with 1 on and 1 out. Braves and Mets are going to complete 3 Major League games in 24 hours. Here's the long line of duty. Game 1, you recall, started after a 3-hour and 43-minute rain delay.
I think the first game lasted 3:14, something like that, in the doubleheader. 3:13, Laser Baker tells me.
And this one creeping along with all the late runs and pitching changes. Josh Edgin is on for the 15th time. Last team to have this kind of crazy scheduling was the Reds. And Joe, you remember that game. You were right. It was in '96 when the Braves and Cincinnati had a long rain delay here. In the wee hours of the morning, they had to fly down to Miami, play the Marlins, and wrapped up a doubleheader a lot closer to midnight than we are down in South Florida.
This guy's got a good arm. He just has a little trouble getting it over the plate consistently enough. I think he's the guy that last year made his debut at Citi Field and Chipper greeted him with a home run. Give him a little welcome to the big leagues.
Edgin lives in New Zion, South Carolina in the offseason. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, went to Ohio State in 2007, then transferred to Francis Marion University in Pennsylvania in 2009. He's another guy the Braves drafted and followed. Edgin was drafted in the 50th round by the Braves in 2009. The Mets took him in the 30th round in 2010. Fly foul. That's into the seats. It's 2-2. Braves have scored 6 runs in 3 games against the Mets. Got to find some offense for Chris Medlin tomorrow night. Sean Markham 0-8 gets the ball for New York.
Nice to get some early runs. As Laser Baker handed us that note earlier tonight, there's not been one pitch thrown in this series where the Braves were leading.
Bouncing ball, first base. Nice pickup by Satin. Hayward is the second out. Reed Johnson to third. And Justin Upton, the final hope for Atlanta. Upton drove home the Braves' run in the 7th. It cut a 2-0 Mets lead to 2-1. It was a sacrifice fly to center that chased home Jordan Schaefer. Two balls, no strikes. A 2-out walk.
They do have Bobby Parnell up in their bullpen.
Well, if that happens, then you need to go down there now with a figure four leg lock.
Look at our partner. Heads on the table.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be. Figure four. It might be like headlock and into the turnbuckle type thing.
So Freddie Freeman 2 on 2 out. Freeman's walked 3 times tonight. He launches one toward left. Cowgill near the wall. Won't get there. It's out of play. And it's a strike. And guys, I would imagine as hot as Freddie Freeman has been at the plate, teams are going to pitch him extremely carefully, and someone else is going to have to protect him in this lineup.
Well, if you're paying attention, that's going to have to be the case. I mean, like I said last night, I was surprised that they attacked him the way they did in that situation last night, but going forward, yeah, you got to make somebody else beat you right now.
Freddie's 2 for 3 with a double off Edgin.
Now got Braves down to their last strike. That's ball game. The New York Mets have come to Atlanta and have swept a doubleheader. A very bright future for their 2 starters, Matt Harvey and Zach Wheeler, who wins his big league debut 6-1.